But let's talk to Barry Murphy as well, who joins the former Shamrock Rovers goalkeeper. They have done the double for the first time in over 30 years, Barry. And Vinnie Perth was saying to me last week in this very studio, if Shamrock Rovers want to be considered a great team, don't worry about 5 and 6 seasons with the league. You got to do a double. And they have.
Yeah, I think that's probably the take the manager took at the start of the season as well. He sat down, he said in the press conference after they sat down the first day of pre-season and said this year, this is our goals to go and win the league back, to go and win the double, progress to the knockout stage of Europe, and they managed to do that. And I think it's probably the last thing Stephen needed to do domestically and as a team was get this double over the line. And now they've gone and done that. You look at what's next for them. Can they go and repeat it next year? That great team in the 80s went and did that. Can they possibly get to the next stage of the knockout round of Europe or next season with the Champions route? You can go into that Europa League. Can they progress? And that's what's on the line for him and this team, and looking forward to making their own bit of history again.
Before we talk about the legacy and where we go next, just the cup final at the weekend. So Cork City obviously not helped by going down to 10 men just for half time, and then Rory Gaffney, the old dog for the road, gets them a couple of goals in the second half, and Shamrock Rovers win the cup. Is that a fair summation of what we saw over the 90 plus minutes at the Aviva?
I thought Cork were brilliant for the first 20 minutes. They were the better team, and it was a bold move playing young Neville at right back. He played 38 minutes in the last game against Derry in the league. Hadn't played since August before that, so it's something I think everybody took note of when the team sheets came out. You're going up against Josh Honahan, probably the standout left wing back in the league this season. Has been brilliant. To put a 21-year-old in that position was a bold move, and he did really well in the first 20 minutes. Cork had some great chances, and I think it's underestimated how good a save Ed McGinty made in that first 10 minutes down to his right-hand side. It was a brilliant save down to his low, to his right, and then he made it one from Shane Maguire a couple of minutes later down to his left, and it looked like Cork with a team pressing. Rovers didn't come out; they looked a bit leggy after Thursday night over in Athens. And Stephen had said that kind of before. Listen, it's going to take us a while to get back into this, get the cobwebs off, and they did. And just the red card, as he said, it just killed it, and it was just the manner of it. And it's not often you'd say you feel sorry for somebody with such a bad tackle like that, but he was just so mistimed with it and so awful. It was a 70-30 tackle as well. It was never there to be made. He just came in, and you can see almost as if the manager said to him, get in there, get a tackle in against Honahan and let him know you're there. Just totally ill-judged and mistimed, and obviously they paid the penalty from that. And from there, you just knew it was a matter of time. Rovers had started to press, got into them the last 10 minutes of the first half. And then the second half, they just kind of capitulated at the back. Mistakes at the back from young Anderson, gave it away to Dylan Watts, who crossed in, and Gaffney scored. And then the brilliant Gaffney again on the night, nicked it from Rory Feely and scored the goal. And his story's been so good from where he was in pre-season. Massive injury last season, had to go and earn a stripe, earn a spot on the team by playing for minutes, really, for Stephen Bradley. They both took a chance on each other, and it's paid off. He's been the talisman. Come up with big goals this season in the league, Europe, and now wins the cup for them.
Seems that pre-season was really important as well. So losing the title to Shells hurt them as a group, and Stephen Bradley said they went back even earlier despite the way they'd gone through in Europe, and he said they put 16 or 17 really hard sessions in even before the season got underway. It seems this Shamrock Rovers team were really determined this year, Barry, to actually go and put their stamp on both the league and the cup.
Yeah, there was no stone unturned either. They went across Europe. They took the learnings from Europe last season, went to these teams and asked them how they dealt with their injury situations, kind of learned from their European knowledge. Rovers had a lot of injuries last season, curtailed them a little bit at the start of the season. Brought Darren Dillon back in. He's a strength and conditioning coach that had been there in previous league wins. Brought him back in, and their injuries just faded away this season. They really hit the ground running kind of in the first quarter of the season. And then they continued that into Europe, but the goal was always to do well in Europe. And just the way the league kind of fell this year, nobody really mounted a challenge, so it fell right for them in terms of they could put all their eyes on those European games, and even going into that cup run as well. Played Sparta Prague on the Thursday night, put out a weakened team for a Kerry team at home who were second bottom of the first division. That's how seriously they took the league or the cup position this year. They wanted to get that double for the fans as well. Hadn't won it since 2019, and that was the last thing they needed to do was the double. So they took it really seriously.
It turned out to be a really good few days because the result in Athens was good, got them at least on the board to start things in the Conference League. They make 5 changes for the cup final, but that result in Greece, and it could have been a lot better but for the controversial penalty right at the end of the game that Jovic stuck away, that turns into a really good week for Rovers. So a hard-earned point on the road in Greece and then win the cup at the weekend.
Yeah, it just shows you where they've come from as a European side as well. When we kind of saw the game, the cup final on Sunday, we thought, listen, they're going to do a weakened team out in Athens again. But there is no weakened team at Rovers at the moment. You look, John McGovern came in that day, won the penalty, was excellent on the night. Gaffney didn't even travel that day. Honohan didn't play. Danny Grant came on last 20 minutes. So you look all over the pitch, even the cup final the other day, Grace came on, Malley, Kavanagh, McGovern, Danny Mandrew came on and had to come off unfortunately with an injury, but the strength and depth to go and fight on all fronts, and to go to AEK, who just beaten Aberdeen 6-0 the week before, was a massive result. Probably one they didn't think they were going to get. When you look at, you've got Shakhtar at home, Breidablik away, and Spartan Hamruns as well. They were the games you probably look at and go, well, listen, we've got to pick up 7 from those 3 games. But to get a point on the board in that game on Thursday gives them a great chance now going into the final games.
Yep, so that run, it's Shakhtar, Breidablik and then Hamruns. So over the next 3, it needs at least 2 wins. I think 7 points feels like the magic number to get through.
Yeah, it is. And what was important kind of going into that game against AEK is that you didn't take a beating, because 7 points last season, Rovers, I think it was 7 or 8 they got last season, but they missed out on the automatic qualification to go into the playoff against Molde by goal difference. So you're thinking they got a beating against Sparta Prague in the first game, conceded 4 goals. You think if you go in there and concede a number of goals against AEK, that could be the difference between qualification and not. And now, like, to exceed that and get a point away from home, if you can go and get a point against Shakhtar at home and maybe get the win against Breidablik, who are no mugs, by the way. Rovers got knocked out by them a couple of seasons ago. Are on a similar path to Rovers in their European journey, have done well domestically, and you've got Sparta, or you've got Hamruns at home in the last game. They're a side that will look at Shamrock Rovers and go, this is possibly where we could pick up points. They'll see Ireland as the weak point in that group, so it's still a lot to play for, but they've given themselves a real chance now.
Not sure if any Bohemians fans were actually celebrating Rovers' win, but it puts them into Europe.
Yeah, I saw a few fireworks at Daily Mount on social media. I don't know whether that was just people taking the mick or not, but listen, it's huge for them as well, isn't it? As much as they don't want to celebrate your local rivals and the difference in levels kind of they are at the moment. Rovers picking up trophies and at the moment and both picking up a 4th place. That's not where they want to be, but it's the getting into Europe at this stage, the money that brings, the ability to tie down players now for the next couple of seasons, because you can offer European football, the Dawson Devoys of the world, the Ross Tierney's. It gives Rennie a real platform to go and bring the right players in to go and challenge for it. And to be fair, they were in pole position to do it. And the last week of September, they were in 2nd place, 2 points ahead of those European places, dropped right off it. And it took until the last day of the open, that brilliant game up in Drott to secure it. But they showed real guts on the night up there to go against a European rival for that spot and beat them convincingly up there and just miss out on qualification by 1 goal actually automatically. So they've gone and done their business. Hoped Rovers did it, and a few fireworks to boot.
So Stephen Bradley said afterwards in the press conference he's not exactly sure what the future holds, and again he openly admitted that, you know, with Josh's situation having changed, from his point of view he could potentially go abroad now. He's not sure if the best path is to stay with Rovers and continue on, but he says his focus very much with them. What do you think Stephen Bradley does next? Does he want to be here to carry this club maybe now to another level, or does it get to a point maybe for him where he goes, I've delivered a double, I've delivered European football back to back in the group stages of a competition, and maybe I might be tempted by something else?
I thought that might be the case going into this cup final. If he did it, you might think he might move on. It was, especially with Josh's situation, that was the massive reins on him during this season. I think he's definitely had suitors down through the last couple of seasons about going abroad. I don't know. I just got a feeling with that press conference after that cup final that he wants a real run at this Champions route going in now. The squad he's built now, the experience he's built over as well. I think he looks at that and goes, you get through a couple of rounds there of the Champions League that we see it going into that spot. You've got a real run at the Europa League coming off that. That could be the last thing maybe that he needs going in for a big job in across the water or somewhere else maybe in Europe. If he has that on his CV, you look at it and you go, listen, you've won 5 out of the last 6 leagues in Ireland, you've won the double, you've won a cup in 2019, nothing much more. I don't know how impressive that'll be to suitors from abroad, but you get a European run from a Champions League into Europa League, a proper European run. I think that's huge for his CV. So I think maybe I just got an inkling that maybe that's where he's looking at, one big run in Europe next season, and that might be the curtain raiser.
What kind of recruitment do Rovers need to do from here? Because every time they get a result in Europe, you're hearing about these 6-figure amounts that are coming in from getting draws or getting wins. They're obviously going to make quite a bit of money from this European run as well. Where do you think that Rovers maybe might need a bit of surgery for next season?
I would have said up top with Gaffney, but you just look at what he's done this season. Has he got another season in him? I don't know whether he'll want to go out on a high. I think they do need a centre forward. I think obviously Noonan's in there, brilliant legs. McGovern's come in very raw, but like I can't look past somebody like a Portugal. For me, I think it's glaringly obvious to any of the top four teams. He is 37, but he's the top scorer in the league. He's played every game the last 2 seasons. I think going to get somebody like him is a no-brainer for me to bring into a squad like that play so many games. They probably look at a centre half. I think they probably missed the centre half. Corey O'Sullivan has come in, done really well at left kind of centre half when needed. But the amount of games Pico's obviously away for a month next season with the World Cup as well, so you need an experienced centre half. Where'd you get one of those from? There's not many of them floating around the league. And again, you look at Josh Honahan's situation, they're probably going to need a wing back as well. So 3 definite positions that will need to be filled, and I'm sure that the coffers are there to go and do it, and I'm sure that the soundings have been made over the last couple of weeks about who those people are.
Yeah, I don't think it's a secret that Enda Stevens has been in doing a bit of training with them as well. To me, that seems like an obvious one. So if Honan, which I think he is ultimately going to leave this winter, if he leaves, you bring Enda Stevens in, you bring in an experienced former international fullback. That to me will soften the blow if that happens.
Yeah, and it's a trust situation with Stephen as well. He's played with him. He knows exactly what he's going to get from what he's going to bring experience-wise into the squad. Again, you're looking at his age, though, for a wing-back. That's the only thing with that. But I think his experience and how good a player he is will get him through that. But it's not a long-term situation. You've got to look at who's going to come in there and fill that role. I think he talked as well about Victor Osimhen, how much he's obviously got his move to Arsenal, but Stephen said how much game time he's going to get will go right up this season. Now that that's over the line, he's not going to have to worry about injuries, and he will play in that kind of left wing back, left back. I think Stephen ultimately sees him playing, so I think that could be the situation where he brings Stephen in, brings Enda in, and then has Victor Osimhen to come in and fill those spots where he can't play.
Yeah, and there's a lot of excitement. Look at Noonan at the moment as well. There's plenty of talent coming through that team, and I think as well for Rovers, it's about investment. Don't get me wrong, but when you're able to sell a player to England for a couple of million quid, this just goes to show it's very attractive if you're bringing young players through your academy. That actually, if the right bid comes in, Shamrock Rovers will facilitate your dream move.
Yeah, and like we are a league, we are a selling league. You look at any of the big European leagues that are beside smaller nations like ours in Denmark, and you look at some of the teams there, they are selling leagues. They sell the players on to produce their own players, then to put that money back into academies. That's happened all over. So you look at Noonan and what he's doing at the under-17s at the moment. He's been excellent. He looks like a man playing in that tournament. He'll probably be the next one that moves across for big money. Got Alex Noonan, the goalkeeper, coming through. He'll be probably, for me, he's going to be the first £1 million goalkeeper or €1 million goalkeeper going abroad in years to come. And Victor Osimhen obviously moving away, but there's another lad, Max Kovalevskis, for the under-17s who'll come in. Played the last game of the season for Rovers. So these lads are all getting blooded. And you look at just the playoff even the other night. You've got players playing in that, a young Noonan playing in that, a double-footed player who's gone out on loan there, done superbly well, and he could probably play in that Shamrock Rovers midfield, given the situation with Jack Byrne in there at the moment. So it's got talent everywhere, really, from their own players going on loan to ones coming through the academy. So it looks really good for years to come for Rovers.
I don't want to bring down your morning, but how are you feeling about Portugal versus the Republic of Ireland on Thursday night?
Yeah, that's one way to dilute the situation. Yes. I don't know. I was full of confidence going into this, and it's obviously been waned away over the last couple of games going in. But we know what we have to do now. I think for me, we've got to go and look at winning that game. I just don't see it. I think us beating Portugal at home is more likely than us going to Hungary and getting a win. I just feel that your home is a chance for you to pick up points, but you just look at the way we've played over the last while. I don't see that in us. I don't see a 90-plus minute performance in that team. But we're going to need one. We're going to need a reeling in the ears performance from this side. We need the fans getting behind us. None of this kind of have your jersey signs or any of that. We need this a cauldron in Lansdowne Road, kind of like the Holland match back in 2001. We need that around us, getting on their players. They're obviously down 2 huge players going into that game as well. But listen, can we nick something? Of course we can. This country is capable of anything in terms of that. We've done it over the years. probably with a better squad of players, but it just seems to me that the manager himself doesn't know who he's putting in this side. We know it's going to be a 5-4-1. What variation of that's going to happen? Are we going to be able to soak up the pressure and catch them on the counter attack? It's going to be a huge ask, and obviously we'll know going into that game with Hungary and Armenia before what we need to do. If Hungary get the win there, we've got to go and beat Portugal. That's as simple as it is, because we're not going to score 3 or 4 goals over in Hungary. So the situation will be clear going into that game, but we've got to hope for a result there and do our job on the pitch. I just don't know if they have a 90+ performance in them, this squad.
I hope you're right that there won't be, can I get your jersey Ronaldo, and maybe people running on the pitch to try and get a hug with Ronaldo during the match. The only thing is, all the ticket requests that I've gotten the last few days from friends and so on have all been, I want to go and watch Cristiano Ronaldo in Dublin for the last time. So I wonder, will there actually be a lot of fans who've snapped up tickets to just want to go and see him?
Yeah, but you don't want those floating fans just coming in and fans of Man United or whoever it was. Like, this is Ireland. This is a chance to get to the World Cup, to have our own experiences. We don't need to live vicariously through somebody else's experience. We need to go and make this recall. And I was at that game in 2001 as a kid against Holland, and the atmosphere was electric. Keane put in that tackle straight away. We need to have on Mark Overmars. We need to have that kind of situation going into Lansdowne Road. This is a huge game to get this group and move this footballing nation forward by getting to this World Cup. It's huge for the coffers going into the underage stuff as well. So we need to go into that, and I feel we need to win on the night, because I just don't see us going to a Hungary on the last day of the season and winning. So I think we need to do something huge on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a big ask. I think as well, we sent to the lads earlier on, the Portugal away game, there was a lot to like about the way that Ireland defended and the resoluteness and all that. The only concern I would have is that Ireland have to go on the front foot and win this game realistically. I'm not expecting Armenia to do us a massive favour against Hungary. So therefore, we're going to have to push the agenda a bit more. And as good as the performance in Lisbon was, Ireland carried no threat really.
No, it didn't at all. I think we'd one shot over the bar. That was about it. And like, listen, we defended really well, but we also defended really well against Germany in Lansdowne Road, and Shane Long got the shot off, and we won it on the night. So it's going to have to be something similar. You just look at what way he's going to play. We played against Armenia, and it was a 5-4-1, a defensive 5-4-1, and that's against Armenia. And we didn't look at threat at all until the sendings off. The same against Hungary in that game, didn't look a threat until the sending off, and we got ourselves back to parity. But that game, you just look at what we're going to do with the players he's brought in. Is he going to put O'Toole straight in at left wing back, an uncapped player, or is he going to go with a little bit more advanced with like Benning on the left hand side, or Scales and Festi on the other side, and at least have a bit of an outball on the wings? Then obviously with the loss of Evan Ferguson up top, to go to that with Adam Ida, with Finn Zaz, you go with Johnny Kenny. For me, you give the dice to the man whose hand is hot, and I just think he's a surprise package in Johnny Kenny, and should you introduce him late in the game, he could be the difference, but we've got to be in the game at that stage.
I was left scratching my head about Johnny Kenny not being in the initial squad, because all the talk from Roma was 3 weeks for Evan Ferguson. So even if you include Evan Ferguson in the squad, they knew he certainly wasn't going to play in the Portugal game. And now again, Johnny Kenny scored at the weekend, just gone. He's got, I think, 4 and 4 under Martin O'Neill. Surely, with very few other Irish players scoring, he should have been in the first squad anyway.
I think so. I think just psychologically as well. I don't know whether it was a tactic to give him a kick, knowing he's going to come in and have him angry coming into the team. But for me, you look at that going, yeah, he doesn't want me in the squad. He doesn't rate me now. He puts me back in. Like, am I going to be at my best when I do come onto the pitch? And Johnny's the type of player, it'll be water off a duck's back for him. And you look at him, his progression last season in Europe for Shamrock Rovers, started the season slow, went into Europe, and he was a different animal, missed loads of chances, but scored loads of goals as well. So he gets himself into brilliant positions, and he offers something totally different to what we have. He runs in behind, he's quick, really good in the air as well. So for me, he's a real threat, and he's the on-form man at the moment. So I think you can look at somebody's position in the team and look at that team standing in a country and say, yeah, he needs to play over him. But for me, you go with the hot players at the moment, and for me, he's the hottest properly up front at the moment for Ireland.
Let's see what kind of game time he gets over the next 2. Barry, thanks a million.
No problem at all, Will.